It's about that time. Quality time. Turn it up. This is the Quality Control Podcast. Let's go.
Good afternoon. You are now joining the Quality Control Podcast. I'm your host, Super Rio Grande, and I'm with my good friend, Justin Miller. Say hello, Justin.
What's up, everybody? Been a long time. Been a little while. Long time no speak.
Nothing wrong with that. We all busy trying to make ourselves better. So now we're about to jump into the episode, the season finale at that. One of the hottest topics that's out there that nobody tends to talk about, unless you get your haircut once a week like I do. We're going to talk about how barbers deal with what's on your head along with what they deal with that's in your head. So this episode is going to highlight the most important role that barbershops take when it comes to mental health of its clients. Some barbers are hailed as therapists, seeing that they tackle life's issue was most pressing, and they do it with no holds barred. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my barber, Mr. Jeremy Spann, barber of J. Gerard's Barber and Style. Say hello, Jeremy.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we talking about hair. Man, tell us your history as a barber. How did you come up? Tell us your get it out the mud story.
Growing up on a farm, Rankin County, and the closest barber was in Jackson, and found a pair of clippers. Figured if I was gonna wear a messed up haircut, I'd do it myself.
I heard that.
I was in the bathroom for about 2 hours, and right at the end is when I messed up. And made it to school the next day and covered up the mess up. And some neighbors down the street asked me if I could do it. And on cue, I said yeah. And been cutting ever since then at 11. So,
wow.
Yeah. I've been having a clientele since 11.
Wow. And that's how many years?
33 now.
Wow. It's a long
My
run.
mother was a hairstylist. Sister was a hairstylist before she passed, and it's just in the blood.
Wow. Man, that's a long time.
Son's a barber.
Really?
Yeah. My mother said barbering chose me. She said I didn't choose it. It's just been in me.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I do. My bad, y'all. So, I guess we'll jump to the second question. And the question is, how has cosmetology evolved throughout your career?
Uh,
I know y'all probably laughing because I had to really look at my screen real close. I had my glasses on.
No, the evolution of it, man, is every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
The hair show down in Atlanta, the Brunner Brothers, the big joint. It February and August, and every February and August, it's always something new.
Mm-hmm.
In part to African American culture, but as far as hair goes, there's always something new going on. There's a new style. And it's regional or geographical. Everybody's got something going on in their particular area. So to be a well-rounded barber stylist, you have to be on it. When I started, that same pair of clippers, this was before the lever.
Mm-hmm.
So my tools were a pair of clippers, a screwdriver, a towel, and a brush. Yeah. And for the fade, I had to screw out. For the lining, I had to get it extra tight and without breaking the skin.
Oh, wow.
I broke thousands of skins.
Yeah.
I wanted the thing to be tight.
Yeah.
But the tools have evolved. The growth of the entrepreneur himself has evolved. The hairstyles have evolved. But it's always been like that because our culture, all the way back from the cornrows,
mm-hmm.
And the importance of the cornrows and putting the rice into the braids for the passage from when the slaves were coming from Africa. The hairstyles have always been incremental and important in our culture, and it's no stopping it.
Yeah, I would say too, it's kind of interesting listening to you tell the story of how it's evolved. I think maybe it's because I'm in my 30s now that I realize there's a lot of hair products out there.
Oh man,
and for me, I wake up every day with the fear I'm gonna lose money, so I be trying to try some new stuff.
Well, I mean, but even from the product standpoint to the tools, I mean, because right now I'm all cordless, and mind you, it was when I started, it was before the lever. And then now we're at cordless, and we're lithium batteries, and even the titanium blades for the stylus, because what the ceramic blades do to the hair versus what the ceramic blades versus what the steel blades were doing with the Marcells. We're the Jetsons now in terms of where we are versus where the Madam CJ Walker with the lie. We're George Jefferson. I'm George Jetson right now, based on where it is that we are in terms of the evolution of the tools, the products, the services. All of it has this. Every aspect of it has an industry that you don't even have to have hair license or barber license or stylist. You can make money from just selling wigs, or you can be a braider, or you can just sell products. At one point, I was making Sally's rich because I was sending everybody to Sally's, get this product, this is what I use. And now it's just like, oh no, I'm gonna use these professional products that I can make money from the products. I can make money from the hair. It's a whole universe. It's these small little planets of making money, or it's big.
Yes. Let me ask you this, Jeremy. What have you learned, or let me ask this: how do you separate the skill of being a barber and the skill of being a business owner, and combine them as the two? And how does that help you perpetuate your business throughout the years? Because it's one thing to have the skill to cut hair, but just as the evolution of the skill, the materials, the actual tools, let's talk about the evolution of these prices. Because nobody's walking in getting a $5 or $10 haircut, and rightfully so. So when we speak about money, we speak about business.
Yeah.
So how have you been able to involve your skill set as far as the actual performing the job versus actually being a businessman? How do they merge?
Trial and error. And I say trial and error not from the trying and the fail. It's your first time getting your taxes done. You learn that you didn't put enough money back into the system, and you're getting penalized for that. So then it's all right. So that don't happen next year. Now I have to dedicate myself to learning about taxes. And just recently, and we're talking about out of 33 years, just recently I've gotten to the point where in the last couple of years I had to say I'm only 5% barber. I'm only 5% of a barber, and I'm 95% entrepreneur now, based on the fact that I've when I walk through the door, it's the 6 months from now, where's the business going to be? Who I have to provide for, as far as all the people under my umbrella. Did I sweep up under the couch? When was the last time I changed the filters? I think it's in the mastery where they say, you want to be 100% of an artist. Now you got to learn brushes. You got to learn paints. You got to learn canvases. And what paint, whether or not it's oil-based or water-based, or how is it going to translate on this particular canvas? And then you got to figure out the anatomy of the body. Because if the sun's coming in, I don't want this arm to look, because of shadows, and this arm may look longer than that arm. So I have to figure, you got to become a student of everything. And so that happens over the course of time when you subject yourself to the industry. If I'd have came in and been like, I'm about to get in this industry, it's going to make me some money. It don't happen that way. Now, you'll get in, and the industry itself will boot you out because of the lack of fluidity and the sincerity of it. Because if you're not sincere to the industry, I didn't get this big because I like to eat. I got this big because it hadn't failed me. You know, when I quit, I was working at the bank, and I was getting off I would get off at the bank, walk through the parking lot to Little Caesars, and then when I wasn't working at Little Caesars or the bank, I was cutting hair. And when I gave up both of those jobs, I said, the only thing I want to think about is hair. I don't want to learn how to fix no cars, build no houses. I just want to learn hair. And the industry enveloped me, and it's protected me, and it feeds everybody that I love.
Yeah. Wow. I like it. So, how is important has the mental safe haven aspect of the barbershop become? Because we know the conversations that take care.
We get into the meat and potatoes now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We know the conversation that happen in the barbershop. And we talk everything from politics, economics, relationships, things like that. Even trying to, buffer some of the violence that we've seen in our surrounding communities. I think that starts in the place where you can talk, and actually have no filter and no consequence. And a lot of that happens here at the barbershop. So how important has the mental safe haven aspect of the barbershop become? So tell us about that.
Well, it goes back to what you said as far as the politics and religion. And the truth be known, we're not supposed to talk about that. But the way that I look at it, in order to facilitate answering the question, I first got to say, when you're in school, don't talk about politics, religion, or sex. Mm-hmm. We're the least evolved African Americans, especially African American men, in terms of where it is that we are, because we don't talk about those things. We'll work next to somebody for 20 years and never ask what it is that they're making.
Amen.
And if we don't know that we're both being screwed by our employer, we've made somebody else. We put their children through college and pay for vacations because we're not communicating.
That's right.
And the way that I've engineered this shop is for maximum relaxation, but also the colors of the wall are so that your whenever you step in, the senses are relaxed. If I had went with white walls or bright walls, and you're walking from outside of a hectic world into a small confined hectic space, and that ain't relaxation.
Right.
That doesn't allow for the conversations that are to be had. Because think about how integral the barbershop and the church was during certain times of civil rights. It was a meeting place. Mm-hmm. Everything was on the table. This is what we need to do. We need to dress this way, and this is the 3-step process of what we're going to do. We're going to look for, we're going to create ruckus. The smart trouble, as John Lewis called. Good trouble.
Good, yes. Mm-hmm.
And then after that, once we protest, then we're going to boycott. And then after the boycott comes the bloodshed. And those decisions were made in a salon or at a church. And it was this is right. In order for us to get to where it is that we want to be, or to get what it is that we deserve, or what we've worked for, this is what we got to do. But those decisions were made inside of a salon or a barbershop or a church, and we have to have that, and that's why it's important for the culture of the barbershop to progress. Based on the fact that when Bush gave out the money for the black churches,
the faith-based initiative. Yeah,
faith-based initiative. 2 years ago, when Black Lives Matter and all of these things were going on during that summer, we didn't see anybody from the church because they couldn't. Right. Because they were pictured here. Because if I go out there and protest, my funding's lost, which means that they got bought out. And the only stronghold that the African American culture has right now is the salon and the barbershop. barbershop because of the atmosphere and the culture inside of those particular walls. We got to safeguard it.
Now, speaking of safeguard, what topics are off limits? We know how we get down when we talk, but
And that's a good question. None should be. None should be. I mean, again, going back to the whole sex, religion, and politics, when we're not informed on either one, why are we not talking about it? We have a history of alcohol abuse and teen pregnancy in America. They've been made taboo. But you go in Europe and everybody's drinking wine and beer responsibly during dinner, and there's naked bodies everywhere from portraits to sculptures. Mm-hmm. And those people are exposed and they talk about it on a regular basis. In the African American community, we keep everything a secret. Yeah. We ain't sharing nothing with each other.
Right.
And then we're the victims of not sharing nothing.
And nature is the more you hold something back,
the more you gonna want it.
So it's
absolutely.
It's an adverse effect to it. So
nothing should be, in my opinion, nothing should be off the table, which to a certain extent is going to make everybody into it. I think Kevin Samuels said it one time. There's always a small degree of violence whenever men are talking, which keeps everybody in bounds. Mm-hmm. Because in the barbershop, you have a right to say what it is you want, as long as you got some facts. Yep. I don't care about how you feel. I don't give a damn about how you feel. Right. If you think Jordan is better than LeBron or LeBron is worse than Kobe or whatever the case may be, let me see your facts. And that's the barbershop rules. You can tell a lie, but make sure that the lie is good. Make sure it's believable.
That's right. Because we're not going to let you lie here.
No, you going to get called out. Come on, man.
It's like...
It's supposed to be. This is where everybody's kept good.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing about this, you can call it institution, facility, this organization, however you want to name this place, it gives us an opportunity to actually have quality conversation. Yeah. A lot of our quality conversations come within these walls simply because there's really no filter, simply because we're here to have the uncomfortable conversation. Yeah. That's one thing our children don't have. Mm-hmm. They're not skilled in having. They'd rather text somebody or, we wrote letters when we were young. Right. And as you grew older, you understood how much that conversation meant. So to have a quality conversation is essential to growing up.
Well, we can be naked and unashamed in here.
Correct.
Because if I don't know how to do something, because the outside has failed us. It's failed our children. I mean, let's face it. I mean, one of the problems that I have with barbershops nowadays is nothing's required. Nothing's required of the kids. Nothing's required of the men that are in there. Because we're fearful of what the mamas may say. We're fearful of what somebody else may say, and nothing's required. And when our forefathers were, you get cussed out for not holding the light right up under
Absolutely.
That's
right.
Like I knock your ass, hold it. It's and now whenever we hold a light for somebody as grown men, because we got that cursing out, that thing is steady. You can be drunk. And that light don't stay on what it is because we were required to be attentive for everything it is. I mean, my mama taught me, if you don't do it right the first time, look forward to doing it again. It's dishes, homework, when you meeting somebody. If you don't do it right the first time, look forward to doing it again. And it's as a child, that requirement is what we should still have today, but we don't.
I think you said something very important. There is an interesting dynamic that you should have, a balance between conflict and I guess resistance in order to grow.
Yeah.
You can't grow with being comfortable. I mean, that's with anything, and you can't. And I mean, you said another key point too. If you don't do something right the first time, expect to do it again. Yeah. That's anything in life. I mean, I'll say for me, just growing up, the older I've gotten, like it took me learning how to have uncomfortable conversations in order to get what I wanted. You know, because one thing I can say, it was one of the first points we brought up was about salary or about how much you make in, you know, whatever job. And one thing I used to be bad about was I get a job and whatever you tell me, like, oh, yeah, that's fine. I'll take that. Yeah, that's fine. I got a job, you know. But then you get on it,
but
and then
that,
you
that's
hear
that well, and it's good enough.
yeah, I'm just
We haven't bad about having we haven't bad about just enough.
So then you talk to somebody else and you're like, oh man, I'm making 20. And you look like, man, I'm making 15. Like what?
Right.
Now I gotta go back to the table, and you ain't gonna get it when you go back to the table because you already missed your opportunity. So it's like, you know, so that's a lesson that's very important to learn. But that's not only when it comes to your financial goals, but also like we talk about relationships, we talk about family. Whatever it is that you want to do, you must. It's important to have uncomfortable conversations, but it's important to have that dialogue in a correct manner. Like you said, whenever you're talking to men, there is a level of danger that it could be conflict in that. You know, if you test my manhood, like we got to stand on what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But at the same token, it's necessary. I think where we are today, you know, like you said, there's no requirement for kids and things like that and barbs and all that stuff in the shop, is because everybody's afraid to talk to everybody, to anybody. We all like, you got so many rules, I just ain't gonna say nothing to you. I'm gonna just stay within my house and do what I. So we don't do the anybody probably the statement, it take a village probably ain't been used in the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah, just
So now you just got a bunch of individuals who, when you don't bounce ideas off anybody, you always think you're right. Because I've never discussed that. I've never discussed that idea. So it's very important to take the village and to have that space to where you can talk and express yourself freely and ask questions. Because in life, there's just some stuff we're not gonna know. I mean, I guess I can use myself, Mario. If I got a minute, I can use myself. I've been married before, and the first time I done it, I didn't take it serious. I just kind of went up
to the club.
Yeah, I just kind of took it like, you know, okay, this is live, you know, it really don't matter who the person is. I'm just, you know, gonna do something.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had a person that I was interested in, but I was like, oh, you know, we really ain't whatever, so I'll just do my thing. Long story short, you got freedom of choice. God gives us all. You can make whatever choice you want to.
Yeah,
now, what you can't choose is a consequence.
There you go.
That's it.
So
That's
you
it.
know, you live and learn. You hit your head, but I think where we are today is so important that we teach and that you do become verbal. Yeah. Because you can't not talk about sex. You can't not talk about finance. You can't not talk about religion, all this other stuff, because these people up under his kids and stuff like that, like they need to know. Like I didn't know what a bill looked like until I had to pay my own bills.
That's right.
Because in the house, don't talk about the bills, just know the lights on. So I'm like, how do you balance the checkbook? How do you do this? And everything is trial and error. So you can avoid that. That's great.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in.
We gotta give an intro.
Chris Ricks from Brandon, Mississippi.
Right.
But no, I just wanted to chime in on that. What you said, you know, about accountability. That is so true. The young lady that just had the tragedy, you know, for Murr. You just said something. You know, we're scared to say anything to anybody.
Yeah.
You had her walk from Murr High School. It had to be like a half a mile.
Probably. Oh yeah, he had to get on 55 to get at the top. So a lot of logistics. Yeah.
So the barbershop is a place, because you know my experience in the barbershop is where, you know, the men hung out. And I've seen it. You know, I've been a part of a barbershop where guys actually almost got into a fight. Yeah. You know, they was, you know, hey, really trying to get down. But those are the things that the barbershop is really for. Now, you can take the violence out of it, and you have those uncomfortable conversations. Yes, you do. But they are very, very necessary, because what it does is that as a child, by me looking at that, it made me wonder, well, why? Just something as simple as paying the bills.
Yeah.
on the phone. Man, how you do that? A child may be looking at that.
Mm-hmm.
That's something real simple.
Mm-hmm.
But that child may not be getting that at home.
Right.
And that barber, there he is. You're teaching them that.
Yeah.
And as men in the barbershop, we have to keep that conversation to a point to whereas they're still learning, but yet it's still challenging. Because if we don't hold ourselves accountable, if we don't, who will?
Right.
Who will?
Well, it's more specifically because of our, well, all cards on the table. Black men aren't. I mean, think about how hard it is that we don't talk about hygiene. It's something as simple as hygiene. This is, we're talking about hygiene.
Hygiene.
And we almost feel like it's taboo
Right.
to talk about the proper care for your body. I mean, and if we have it bad about the outside of the body, talking about what it is that we need to do, the numbers in terms of hypertension in African American culture, it's astronomical.
Yes.
And we know because of the diet, because I ain't getting nobody business. I mean, you eat what you want to eat, or do whatever, or you'll figure it out. Those are the phrases that are thrown out on a regular basis. When I recognize that there's not a space for, more specifically, African American men that we don't have to share with somebody else. Once I recognized that, it was my responsibility to do something, because for the culture, and I hate to say that for the culture, but for the culture, it was my responsibility. I had to be in a position where it's like, okay, I recognize that something has to be created for the dialogue, for the safety, and when I say safety, the mental safety.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because it's like we're walking around with stuff that is inside of our head that we question, whether it's politics or religion. Because I mean, we've been taught, we've been engineered to think that this is how I'm supposed to vote. This is what I'm supposed to praise, or this is what I'm supposed to have this. Hey, you don't question this, and then just go along with it. Or even with finances, this is what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. This is how I'm supposed to do things. We get taught, work hard, save your money, and blah blah blah.
And pray for the best.
Where's the investment? Where is we live in these United States and don't understand that capitalism is all of what it is.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's all about capitalism, and we fail to have conversations about finance. How ridiculous is that? That's like being in the ocean and not learning about fish.
And I'll chime in on that real quick. I mean, I know, like, from a standpoint, like, younger kids now, and even, like, with social media and things we got now, I think more of the focus is placed on, I mean, because even when I was growing up, I think more of the focus was placed on how many women can you get.
Yeah.
And not...
Getting your numbers up.
Yeah, get your numbers up. Nothing else matters.
That's right.
You know, and then you look back at life.
ridiculous.
You look back at life, you're like, man, I wasted so much time doing nothing.
A man one of my clients told me one time, having a whole bunch of girlfriends just like having a whole bunch of bosses. Think every time you get off the telephone with one girlfriend, now you got to adjust to the mindset of the next one.
So if
Stressful.
If you
no
spend
wonder
your
we
time,
got hypertension.
right? You spend your time doing that. You ain't learn how to invest. You ain't learning how to put
money.
Yeah, you ain't learn how to compound compound interest. All that. You ain't learn about none of that. You learn about how do I get in her head to do whatever. And I mean, you hate to bring this point up, but even some guys, you know, that's where discipline comes in as well. You know, and discipline comes in, you know, where this is extreme example, but if you were talking to a young lady and she said no, you take the no and you keep moving. That don't mean you press or you make or force somebody to do something, whatever. But that also goes to your personal life, you know, where do you wake up in the morning at least I ain't saying you got to meditate 30 minutes, but at least think about what you got to do in a day. Think about what it's going to take to make this day a success. And that doesn't mean that you making money. That just means like, what can I do today to be productive?
Yeah.
And make something, plant a seed today that I can see tomorrow. And not focus on, because it's easy, like you said, to get your numbers up. That's easy. But what's not easy to look in the mirror and say, man, I ain't doing that.
Exactly.
I wasted a year. I didn't do. See, that's the hard part, because now I gotta look at myself.
That's right.
And say, hey, this is where I'm at in life, and this is my choice. You talk about capitalism. It ain't. Man, I'm gonna get some hate for this.
Come on with it.
It ain't.
That's what we need.
It's not. It's not. I think some of us black people, because I'm black, we use the simple term that is somebody else's fault, whether they be white, Latina, Mexican, whatever. Sometimes it ain't nobody's fault but your own.
Absolutely.
When you wake up and I'm scrolling on Facebook for 2 hours, Instagram for an hour, go out to eat, and I knew I only had $30 on my account, but I'm gonna overdraft that bad boy for a month, for 5 minutes. After all that, it's nobody's fault but your own. That's where accountability, like you said, accountability comes in. So if you're doing all this stuff, you can't, at the end of the year, or like however you set your goals and judge yourself, you can't blame nobody but yourself. You know what I'm saying? Life is it's so many different aspects to make your life rich and enhance your life that we waste so much time on nothing. We waste time by being silent, because your silence could cost somebody 5 years or 10 years because they had to figure it out on their own.
We double down on what don't work.
Yeah.
We double down on what don't work.
Because everybody's doing it.
We've made cool what hurts us, and we shun what helps us in our culture.
Very true.
And when we get to dealing with how, going back to, say on top of with the barbershop, in here, it's going back to what I said just a minute ago. You get called out. Mm-hmm. You know that didn't work last time. Why you keep on doing it? We were the first to implement the LOL, because we'll say something real. My mom used to say, I can tell somebody to go to hell and have them ready to pack their bag, because it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Mm-hmm. And so, but we are in a position where right now we're doubling down on what don't work. We're doubling down on financially, socially, in our relationships, with a whole bunch of stuff. And if there was the one common ground in which where we can get this proper education, this is particularly the only spot for that. Mm-hmm. Because this is where we get instilled in our head when we're younger. You can go to the barbershop, and I used to go to right off of Lynch Street, Soul Scissors. I'd be able to go over there by myself, walk up and down the street, because the barbershop was a safe haven. We're talking about in the metropolitan area. You all right to go into it. And folks let their kids come up in here whenever. And it's also that rite of passage, because I got a 15-year-old that, well, now he's 15, but when he turned a certain age, he told his mama, I'm going in by myself. You stay in the car. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's it. She was okay with it because she understood who he was coming to, where he was going.
That's right.
What he's hearing. And
stuff
like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a control. This one more specifically is a controlled environment, whereas other places, unfortunately, because there hadn't been an evolution or involvement of
the mind
of the owner of the shop. Mm-hmm. And I would love to have conversations with them if they were on the level. Now, I'll talk what was it, Dr. Clark, Henry Clark said, he don't have conversations with, he'll teach non-black folks, but he can only have a conversation with black folks. Everybody else is to be taught. I'll talk to a barber, but I love having conversations with shop owners, because we're not in competition. And I explained that to them. I don't want to cut everybody's hair. Mm-hmm. I can't afford to cut everybody's hair. But I don't mind sharing ideas either. I don't even mind asking questions. And I've been doing this 33 years. I have no problem with asking them, man, what you think about such and such?
Yep.
But I'm already of the mindset of this is a community. You know, even within just being barbers or shop owners, there's a certain there's that community, and we have to learn how to communicate. You know, whether it be with the hairstylist or I'm meeting with a hairstylist tomorrow, just talking business and ideas, because I need to bounce some. I'm a product of being inside my head as well. You know, we all are. All African American men are products of being inside of our own heads. They want to
Talk to yourself and anybody else.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you know what? And that's a good point. We're gonna move on to the next point.